Hello. Today's lesson is comparing and ordering fractions. So we're a continuation of our last two lessons, really. And we're on lesson 6.8, page 267 of the fourth grade textbook. And so the question is, how can you order fractions? So let's look at the unlock the problem. Jody has equal size bins for the recycling center. She filled 3/5 of a bin with plastics, 1/12 of a bin with paper, and 9/10 of a bin with glass. Which bin is the most full? So 3/5, 1/12, and 9/10. And which bin is most full? So underline what we need to find, which I did, and then circle the fractions we're going to compare. All right, so example one, we can locate the fractions on a number line. And so we would use 0 and 1 if the fractions were less than 1. And so step one, we're going to compare each of these fractions to 1/2. Because we notice that there's two that are going to be greater than 1/2, and we see that one's going to be less than 1/2. All right, so 3/5, that's greater than 1/2. 2.5 is half of 5, so 3 would be greater than 1/2. 1/12, well, that's less than 6/12. 6/12 is equal to 1/2, so this is less than 1/2. And 9/10 is clearly bigger than 5/10, which means it's bigger than 1/2. So we have two that are greater than 1/2, one that's less. All right, so blank and blank are both greater than 1/2. Okay, so 3/5 and 9/10 are both greater than 1/2. 1/12 is less than 1/2. So we can label 1/12 on the number line. Okay, remember you put the dot on right on the line, and this is the distance that's being shown on the number line, 1/12. So step two. Okay, so now we compare 3/5 and 9/10. So let's multiply 3/5. Let's find a common denominator. And 3/5 times 2 over 2. So we have 6/10. 6/10 is less than 9/10. So we know that 3/5 is less than 9/10. So now we can label our last two fractions. Okay. We know that 3/5 is less than 9/10. So it has to be in this order. So the fraction, the greatest distance from 0, has the greatest value. The fraction with the greatest value is 9/10. So the bin with 9/10 is the most full. All right. Compare the distance between 3/5 and 0 and the distance between 9/10 and 0. What can you conclude about the relationship between 3/5 and 9/10? Well, I see that 3/5 is closer to 0 than 9/10 is to 0. So the distance So again, we know that the distance from 3/5 to 0 is less than the distance from 9/10 to 0. So if 3/5 is closer to 0, that means 3/5 is less than 9/10. Write 7/10, 1/3, 7/12, and 8/10 in order from least to greatest. All right, so step 1, compare each fraction to 1/2. List the fractions that are less than 1/2. 7/10, that's more than 1/2 because 5/10 is half, so that's greater. So I'm going to put that right here. 1/3, we know that that is less than 1/2 because what's half of 3? 1.5. So 1's less than 1.5. 7/12, that's greater than 6/12, so that's greater than 1/2. 8/10, that's also greater than 5/10, so that's greater than 1/2. So the fraction with the least value is 1/3. It's the only one that's not greater than 1/2. So we can label 1/3. It's the only one not greater than 1/2. So we're going to put 1/3. All right, now step 2. Now we have to compare the other 3 fractions. So let's think of 7/10 and 7/12 as having a common numerator, right? Okay. The smaller the piece, the smaller the denominator, the bigger the pieces. So 7/10 is larger than 7/12. And then we can also then look at 7/10 and 8/10. And 7/10 is less than 8/10. So now we can put these in the right spots. 7/10 is smaller than 8/10, but 7/10 is bigger than 7/12. So 7/12 is second on the line. 8/10 is the largest, and 7/10 would go right there. Okay, so the fractions in order from least to greatest are 1/3, 7/12, 7/10, 8/10. So 1/3 is less than 7/12. 7/12 is less than 7/10, and 7/10 is less than 8/10. All right, so now let's write 3/4, 1/6, 1/3, and 2/12 in order from least to greatest. So let's list those less than 1/2. List those greater than 1/2. All right, 3/4, that's greater than 1/2. Oh, we also have list those that are 1/2. So 3/6 is 1/2. 1/3, we know that that's less than 1/2. 2/12, that's smaller than 6/12. So, all right, so we have 2 that are smaller than 1/2. And we have 1 that's bigger. So the largest number is 3/4. That's bigger than 1/2. 3/6 is exactly 1/2. So now all we have to do is compare 1/2. I'm sorry, 1/3 to 2/12. 1/3 to 2/12. I can make the third into 12ths by multiplying by 4. 4 times 1 is 4. So 4/12 compared to 2/12. 4/12 is bigger. So 1/3 is larger than 2/12. So our smallest fraction is 2/12. 2/12 is less than 1/3. 1/3 is less than 3/6. And 3/6 is less than 3/4. Okay. 269, number 1. Locate and label the points on the number line to help you write 3/10, 11/12, and 5/8. Okay, so the number line is giving us a clue. One of the fractions is less than 1/2, and 2 of them are larger. Well, which one's less than 1/2? Half of 10 is 5. Okay, so that one's less than 1/2. And then we have 2 that are greater. 11/12 and 5/8. Well, let's find a common denominator. Okay, so let's list some multiples of 8. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 12, 24. Oh, I can stop there. Okay, so I'm going to turn both of these into 24s to compare. 12 times 2 is 24. 2 times 11 is 22. 5/8 times 3. All right, so we're comparing 15 24ths and 22 24ths. So this one's the largest, 11/12. So 5/8 has to go to the left of 11/12. Least to greatest. So 3/8 is our smallest, followed by 5/8, followed by 11/12. We might have been able to use reasoning here, common sense. This is only missing one piece, so 1/12 away from being 1. And 5/8 is just one more greater than 1/2. So it's just slightly past 1/2. All right, write the fraction with the greatest value. All right, well, I can make 5 into 10 by multiplying by 2. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 1 is 2. So we're basically comparing these three. Well, the biggest one is 9/10. 5, 6, 7, 12, 7/10. Well, if I compare the numerators here, 7/10 is bigger than 7/12. So let's eliminate 7/12. Now we're comparing 7/10 and 5/6. Okay, so let's find a common denominator. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. I'm going to stop there because I know 10 can become 30. So we're going to turn both of these fractions into 30ths. 7/10 I'm going to multiply by 3. So that's 21 30ths. And 5/6 I'm going to multiply by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 25 30ths. Okay, so we see that 25 30ths is bigger than 21 30ths. So 5/6 is our answer for number 3. 2/8, 1/8, 2/4, 2/6. All right, well, I can eliminate 1/8 because 2/8 is bigger than it. I can eliminate 2/6 because 2/4 is bigger. 2/4 is, the numerators are the same. Fourths are bigger than eighths. 2/4 is our biggest answer. We could have also just looked at that and said, well, 3 of them are less than a half. 2/4 is a half, so that half is bigger than the other 3. Write the fractions in order from least to greatest. All right, so I guess let's use that idea of comparing to a half. This 1/4, let's just put 0 and 1, and we're going to call that 1/2. Okay, 1/2 is 1/2. 5/8 is bigger than 1/2. And 1/4 is less than 1/2. So least to greatest, 1/4, 1/2, 5/8. 3/5, 2/3, 3/10, 4/5. Well, we have that's not what I wanted to do. If we were just comparing numerators, denominators, because these both have 3 pieces, we'd say 3/5 is bigger than 3/10. So 4/5 is greater than 1/2. So 3/10 smaller than 4/5. So now 2/3, that's bigger than 1/2. So 3/10 is our smallest. Okay. Then the other three are all greater than 1/2. So we have 3/5, 2/3, 4/5. Well, we know that 4/5 is bigger than 3/5. Okay. So is 2/3 smaller than 4/5? Well, we can find common numerators by multiplying 2/3 by 2, and we get 4/6 compared to 4/5. So if the numerators are the same, we look at the denominator. The 5 is bigger. So 4/5 is our largest fraction. Okay, now we have 2/3 compared to 3/5. Two-thirds compared to 3/5. Let's find a common denominator for 5. We're going to multiply 3/5 by 3 over 3. That gives me 9/15. Let's multiply 2/3 by 5 over 5, and that gives me 10/15. So 3/5 is slightly smaller than 2/3. And 4/5 we said was the largest. So 3/10 is the smallest, 3/5, followed by 2/3, followed by 4/5. Number 7. This is the best way I would recommend doing this one is that since these are both 12s, let's change 3/4 into 12. 3/4 times what equals 12? 3. Let's multiply both the numerator and denominator by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So 9/12, 7/12, 5/12. So the smallest is 5/12, then 7/12, and then 3/4. I don't write 9/12 because that wasn't the fraction that was listed here. 9/12 equals 3/4. Okay. Number 8, write the fractions from least to greatest again. Okay, these two fractions are less than 1/2. This one's greater than 1/2. So that's going to be my largest. And now I have to compare 2/5 and 1/3. Well, I'm going to change 1/3 so it has the same numerator as 2/5. So I'm going to multiply 1/3 by 2 over 2 to get 2/6. So we're comparing 2/5 to 2/6. Fifths are bigger than sixths, right? So 2/5, 1/3 is my smallest. 4/8, 5/12, 1/6. Okay, so if we compare it to 1/2, this is 1/2. This is smaller than 6/12, so smaller than 1/2, and that's smaller than 3/6, which is less than 1/2. So 4/8 will be our largest because it's 1/2. The other two are smaller than 1/2. And so now we have 5/12 and 1/6. Well, let's make the sixth into 12ths. 6 times 2 is 12. 2 times 1 is 2. So we're comparing 5/12 and 2/12. 5/12 is bigger. Okay. So our smallest fraction is 1/6. Okay. Number 5. Well, we have two that are greater than half. 9/10 is greater than half. 4/5 is greater than half. Half of 100 is 50. That's clearly the smallest. Okay, 9/10 and 4/5. Well, 5 can become 10 by multiplying by 2. So now I have common denominator. 4 times 2 is 8. 9 tenths is bigger than 8 tenths. So 4 fifths, and then 9 tenths is the largest. All right, write a numerator that makes the statement true. So half is smaller than a tenth, and this is smaller than 4 fifths. I'm going to make common denominators for these. So I'm going to multiply the 1/2 by 5. That gives me 5 tenths. 5 tenths is less than some number of tenths. And I'm going to turn 4 fifths into tenths by multiplying by 2. All right, so the middle one has to be between 5 tenths and 8 tenths. So I could use 6 tenths or 7 tenths. Those are the only two possibilities. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put just 6. Okay. 6 tenths is greater than 1/2, but 6 tenths is smaller than 8 tenths or 4 fifths. Okay, this one here, I'm going to find common denominators. And so I'm going to list 4, 12, and 6. I'm going to start with 4. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Then I'm going to go to the 6. 6, 12. I'm going to stop there because this is 12. So I can turn all the denominators into 12. So 1/4 times 3 over 3 is 1/12. Compared to 5/12. Multiply the 6 by 2 to make that 12ths. So 3/12 less than 5/12, which is less than 6/12, 7/12, 8/12. So let's make it 3. Right? So why didn't I write 6/12 here? Because we changed the sixth to 12s. And we know that if this last number is 1/2, represented by 6/12, that it'll be bigger than 5/12. So half of 6 is 3. So 3, 4, 5, 6 all would have worked. All right, so if we made these all 8s, it would be easy to compare. So 3/4 times 2 is 6/8. Okay, those two are equivalent. 3/4 and 6/8 are equivalent. 6/8 is smaller than 7/8. So anything smaller than 6/8 works. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Any of those would work. So I'm just going to put 6. No, I'm sorry, not 6. Anything smaller than 6. 5. Okay, 5/8 is smaller than 6/8, which is smaller than 7/8. Okay. All right, 270. Nancy, Lionel, and Mavis ran in a 5-kilometer race. The table shows their finish times. In what order did Nancy, Lionel, and Mavis finish the race? So here's our finish line, and they have a 5-kilometer race. Nancy finished in 2/3 of an hour. Lionel finished in 7/12 of an hour, and Mavis finished in 3/4 of an hour. So what do we need to find? We need to find order. Nancy, Lionel, and Mavis finished the race. What information do I need? Well, I need 2/3 hour. I need 7/12 hour and 3/4 of an hour. What information is not necessary? The 5 kilometers. Okay, I'm not going to use the 5 kilometers. How will you solve the problem? Compare 2/3, 7/12 to 3/4. from least to greatest. Okay. All right, so we're comparing 2/3 to 7/12 to 3/4. Okay, right now, I look at that and they're all greater than 1/2. So that's not a great bench or a great method to use on this one. Why don't we try to find common denominators? So let's see. 3, 4, 12. 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay, so I'm hoping that 4 can become 12, which we know it can't. 4, 8, 12, and 12 is already 12. All right, so we're going to turn those into 12ths. So 2/3 times 4 over 4 would be 8/12 of an hour. 7/12 is already 12, so we'll leave that alone. And 3/4 I'm going to multiply by 3 over 3. So that's 9/12. So now we have 8/12 of an hour, 7/12 of an hour, and 9/12 of an hour. So the furthest from the hour was the fastest. Okay, so who was furthest from completing the quote hour of running? Seven twelfths. Okay, so who finished first? Lionel. Who finished second? 9/12 or 8/12? 8/12. So the 2/3. So Nancy and the runner who finished in third was Mavis. All right. So again, while Mavis's number is the largest, that means that she's closest to taking an hour to run. The one that was furthest from completing an hour of running was Lionel. Okay? So he was closer to 0. Think of it that way. Who was the closest to 0 or the furthest away from 1 hour? Lionel. Who was closest to 1 hour? Mavis. Alma used 3 beads to make a necklace. The lengths of the beads are 5/6 inch, 5/12 inch, and 1/3 inch. What are the lengths in order from shortest to longest? So we're comparing 5/6, 5/12, 1/3. 5/6, 5/12, 1/3. Well, 2 of these are smaller than 1/2. 5/12 is less than a half. 1/3 is less than a half. So the longest has to be 5/6. All right, so now all we have to do is compare these two. Well, and I know I can make 1/3 into 12ths by multiplying by 4. So 1/3 is the same as 4/12. So the shortest is the 1/3. 1/3, 5/12, 5/6. And 16. Victor has his grandmother's recipe for making mixed nuts. 3/4 cup pecans, 1/2 cup of almonds, 2/12 cup peanuts, and 7/8 cup of walnuts. Order the ingredients used in the recipe from least to greatest. So we have to compare 3/4, 1/2, 2/12, and 7/8. Okay, well, we can eliminate some by just comparing to a half. Okay, this is greater than a half. This is a half. This is less than a half, and that's greater than a half. So 2/12 is the least, followed by 1/2. So now we just have to compare 3/4 and 7/8. I know I can make 3/4 into eighths by multiplying by 2 over 2. That's 6/8. So 6/8 is smaller than 7/8. So 3/4, which is 6/8, is smaller than 7/8. Okay. So that is it for the concepts in chapter 6. We will do our review in our next lesson for the chapter 6 test. So until then, may the numbers always be in your favor.